Hello and welcome to another Lent meditation. We've been exploring the significance of Jesus' life and death and his resurrection in these videos under the general title Stepping Stones from Creation to the Cross. Today and for the 2 days after that, we're really looking beyond the cross as we consider what Jesus, on the eve of his crucifixion, taught his disciples about the coming Holy Spirit. The time was fast approaching when Jesus would no longer walk this earth as a man. And even though he would rise from the grave 3 days after his death on the cross, he would still only walk on this earth for a further 40 days. The book of Acts tells us. He would then ascend to heaven. But he made this precious promise to his disciples. It's here in John chapter 14 and verse 16. And I will ask the Father, and he will give you another advocate to help you and be with you forever. The whole Trinity is at work in that verse. Jesus is praying to his Father. The Father is sending the Spirit, called an advocate here. An advocate is someone who speaks for and acts for another. Then, as that advocate, the Spirit is helping the disciples. Son, Father, Spirit, the whole Trinity at work for the life of the Christian. Well then, as Jesus continued to make his way resolutely to the cross, when all that was about to happen there must surely have been pressing in upon him. Do you see his care and his concern for his disciples? He reassures them. He reassures them that when the time comes when he will no longer be with them bodily, God the Father will not leave them alone. He will send his Spirit. And he goes on to say that this indwelling presence of the Spirit is really the litmus test that shows that we're his disciple. It shows that we're really a Christian. That's what we read in the next verse. The world cannot accept him because it neither sees him nor knows him. But you know him, for he lives with you and will be in you. God's gift of the Holy Spirit is for every disciple of his Son. If you're a disciple of Jesus Christ, you have the Holy Spirit living within you. If you have the Holy Spirit living within you, you are a disciple of Jesus Christ. This is what it means for us today to be branches in the vine that is Christ. We were thinking about that yesterday. This is what it means to be united with Christ. It means the Spirit of God living within us. He's called the Spirit of truth. And we read later on in this chapter of John's Gospel how Jesus promises that he'll teach these early disciples and he'll remind them of what Jesus said. We've got the evidence of that in black and white in the Bible today. This is God's truth, and God's Spirit enabled these early disciples to write it. So what's the evidence then that God's Spirit lives within us today? Well, Jesus gives the answer to that at the beginning of this short section. If you love me, keep my commands. If we love God, if his Spirit truly lives within us, then he works with us and in us to help us keep his commands. And his commands are here in this book, written by that same Spirit of God. Just about 6 months or so ago, our family got a dog. We've never had a dog before, and now we have this lovely 3-year-old collie. He's great fun to have around. He's got a little chip inside him. And that chip says that he belongs to us. But there's another way you can tell he belongs to us. It's a work in progress right now. But that is, he's learning to obey our commands. He's learning to come when we call. He's learning to do what we ask. Not always perfectly, but we're working on it. If you're a disciple of Jesus Christ, God's Holy Spirit lives within you. Jesus promises that. And the evidence of that isn't primarily a feeling, because feelings come and feelings go. The evidence of that is that day by day he helps us by his Spirit to grow in obedience to his commands. It is a thing most wonderful, almost too wonderful to be, that God's own Son should come from heaven and die to save a child like me. And yet I want to love thee, Lord. Oh, light the flame within my heart until I love thee more and more, until I see thee as thou art. May God help us by his Spirit to show our love by keeping his commands.